Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. And it's Halloween week, and we are starting with a great show. It is, of course, drawing Bigfoot, not drawing Bigfoot tonight. We're going to be drawing some sort of cryptid that Donnie Miller saw. He's had two encounters, and he's going to share with us the weird thing that he saw. I don't know where you were, but we'll get into it. But first, let me thank Larry Batson for being here, of course, our artiste. How you doing, Larry?
As I said earlier, I'm happier than a painted turtle at a fish farm.
Ooh,
I think that sounds like a good thing. I'm not sure. I've never been at a fish farm.
they're
But,
happy.
oh, okay, that's good then. And of course, with me, son Mark Dunn. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You're welcome. And of course, Donnie Miller. Everyone knows Donnie Miller, Standing Goats Rescue. Thank you for being here tonight and sharing another encounter with us.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's get into it. You saw something that you say don't think it's a Bigfoot. Walked out in front of you, front of the car or the truck. Where were you?
This was on Panama City Beach, and we weren't on the beach on the Gulf's edge, but Panama City Beach is an island, and the north end of Panama City Beach, it borders the Intercoastal Waterway, and we have West Bay and East Bay. A couple of bays are up there, and Moonlight Bay Drive is paved now, but it used to be just a two-trail dirt road that went through Colony Club, which was a high-end housing area, and then it turned into a dirt road, and it went through the woods to dead ended right at the water's edge. And if you didn't stop, you would drive into the bay. And we were down there. Four of us were down there one evening. This was back, I believe it was around 89 or 90. And I was with my best friend at the time, Eddie. I had my girlfriend, Celeste. I'll use her name because she's passed away now, so I don't think I get in trouble for that.
Sorry about
And then Eddie's girlfriend. Well, we all got a time. Hers just came before mine, but it's all good. But I was in a 77 Chevrolet Nova. It was an old police car, and it had the huge back seat, bench seats front and rear. And we went down Moonlight Bay Drive. We didn't have any money. I worked, Eddie worked, my girlfriend at the time, she worked. And I'm not sure if Eddie's girlfriend worked or not. I knew her. We went to school together, but I really don't know if she, I don't remember. But anyway, we had no money to get a 6-pack of beer. I drank beer back then. We had nothing. We were busted. Me and Eddie came up with about $8 to put in gas, and that's all we had. And so we had the idea, let's bring our girlfriends out Moonlight Bay Drive, and we'll sit there. It's so pretty out there. And so he agreed. We picked him up, and the way Moonlight Bay Drive runs, as you're headed due north toward the bay, you have to make a 90-degree left-hand turn for about 100 feet, I guess, and then a 90-degree right-hand turn. If you don't make that second turn, there's a ditch right there, and it's fairly deep. It's not a real wide ditch, but it drops off abruptly, and so you turn, and you can drive to the water's edge. And in that Nova, I would have got stuck in that sand, and so I stopped probably up 70 feet from the water. And so we had planted pine trees, mature big pines, on our right side, passenger side of the car that went for miles. On the driver's side, there was one row of pines between the road we were on, that little two-trail road, and the ditch. The roots of the pine trees were literally suspended, just hanging in the air, because the ditch, the tide coming and going, washed all the soil away. The ditch was right there, and some of the trees were actually leaning from the roots not being supported. And we parked right there, and it was dark. We had a big moon, but under the trees, it's so dark you can't see anything. Well, I got out and I sat on the hood right above the front tire, and Celeste got out. She come around and she stood between my legs, and we were just talking, you know, teenagers talking trash. And with me looking down at her, I could see in the ditch. No, it wasn't none of that. I was a decent kid until I hit my 20s. But the ditch, like looking down at her, the way I was sitting, her, you know, her head's probably up here on me, and I was looking down, and the ditch is directly behind her. Fairly close to the ditch, I see this lime green, fluorescent green glow. This I don't know how to. It kind of looked like if you see somebody drawing a smiley face, that little like horseshoe, it looked like that, but it was lime green. And it was down by the water.
The mouth of the smiley face?
Yeah, just the mouth. If you draw a smiley face, you know, that little horseshoe look. Well, that's the shape of this green, this light. And I knew it wasn't a glow fly. It was large. It was probably, you know, 2 inches wide, real thin, but it had that little curve to it. And it was by the water, and it started rising up. And when it started rising, that side of the ditch is about 3 feet lower than the side we're parked on. The road itself is about 3 feet down. And it's a low area, it's a runoff for the planted pines, the swamp water to get it to run into the bay. But there are pine trees over there, and they're only 8 to 10 foot. A few of them maybe 15 foot. They're little saplings. And I thought it was a bobcat or some other type of animal climbing the tree. And I told Celeste, I said, look behind you. And I mean, it's right there. It was so close to us. And I said, look, there's a bobcat. And she turned around and she glanced over, and she took off and went and got back in the car. She's from California. She came from Ojai up in it's an upper class, and she don't do the outdoors. Fishing, hunting, she does none of it. And so I watched it. I stayed where I was sitting watching it, and it kept going up. And so I hopped down off the hood, and I walked to the back door where Eddie was sitting. He sat directly behind me, and he had his window about half down. I said, Eddie, hop out and look, there's a bobcat right here by the car. I mean, it's 10 feet from me. Well, he started laughing and said, I don't want to see no dang bobcat. And he rolls the window up. We had the old manual windows, and he's in the car laughing about it. And so I went and I hopped back on the hood, and I'm watching it. It's right there. It's not afraid of me. You know, I wasn't afraid of it. But then it's still rising, but it's rising slowly. And it dawned on me, there's nothing over there but planted pines. And if you've ever been around a southern pine, a longleaf pine, a chameleon on a pine tree makes a lot of noise. That bark's really flaky and real loud. And there was no sound. I mean, just like somebody turned the volume completely off. There was nothing. And I started getting a little creeped out. Well, it got up to where, with me on the hood, it was eye level with me. It was straight across where it stopped, and I was watching it. But then it would like kind of dip and move side to side, and I couldn't understand. You know, is it an animal behind the tree, and he's kind of popping around? But it never blacked out. If it would have been behind the tree, so I was puzzled. Well, then it swung hard to my right, which was toward the bay, and it came up real sharp, and it looked like the left side of it from where I was sitting was like a triangle. It had a point, a defined point. The right side was bowed. It wasn't a perfect triangle. It's like that one side was rounded. and it was glowing, and that bright green. And I thought it got bigger, it grew, or I didn't know. I didn't have an answer for it. Well, then it swung again, that little swoop thing, and then it rose up, and that's when I got off the hood and I got in the car. If you look in the mirror at your eye, the way our eye is shaped, it's got the points on each end, you know, that rounded shape. It was only one, but it looked like an eye. And if you can imagine the white part of your eye glowing lime green and the colored part being just solid black with the lime green white, that's what it looked like. But it was only one. And immediately I thought an eye, but there should be two of them. But there wasn't. And the tree's not big enough, the size of it, it could not have been a person's eye. It was too big. I mean, it was large, probably a $50 to a silver dollar. I mean, it was really big. Well, I got in the car and I crunked the car up, and Eddie was making jokes about Bobcat getting me, and that wasn't the case. But I was concerned with what it was. I wanted to know. Some type of animal climbed that tree and didn't make a noise, didn't make a sound. And it's got what looks like an eye, one big eye. And I cranked the car up, and I've got a row of pine trees right on the edge of that ditch, half hanging in the ditch, half on my side. And on the other side of the car, it's solid pines. And these are big. You know, some of these pines are probably 20 inches. They're huge. And so I had to do like a 7 or 8 point turn trying to get my headlight on it. And I backed up hard until I bumped the tree behind me. And I turned the wheel as far to the left as I could, and it eased up until my bumper hit the tree that was on the ditch side. And Celeste started screaming. And she went down on the floorboard on her back. She's kicking me with her feet. Well, then Eddie, who's sitting behind me, he starts punching the back of my seat and the headrest. He's hitting the roof, and he's screaming. His girlfriend, she dropped. So I don't know if she went to the floorboard, but she was out of sight. And it was so loud, but I couldn't see what they were seeing. My headlight was against the tree. The pine was, it was bigger than a 5-gallon bucket, probably 3 or 4 inches wider than a 5-gallon bucket. And my headlight was right, it had the tree lit up, and whatever this was behind the tree. And I couldn't see it, but they could from where they were at. Because the car, I wasn't straight on. You know, I was kind of at an angle like this. And so Eddie was, you know, he was behind me, but he could see what it was. But what I could see on the ground, the passenger light was shining behind the tree, I guess. And it casted a shadow on the ground, on the bank of that ditch, to the left side, to my side of the car. And it was the shadow of a person. And when I seen that, that's when all the sound stopped. I mean, in the car, I could hear him screaming, but it sounded like a muffle. It wasn't loud at all. And I backed up again, and I turned the wheel hard, more to the left, and I pulled up, and I hit the tree, and the tree was almost in the center of the hood, and the headlights on him. And this guy is standing right there. He's roughly 8 feet, between 6 and 8 feet from my bumper. He's right there on the other side of that ditch. The tree, the roots of that tree are hanging over into the ditch. The water in the ditch is only maybe 2 feet across. It's just a little strip of water. We would scoop bait out of it with a scoop net to fish for speckled trout. It's just a little runoff. And he was right against the water's edge on the other side of it. And he was facing me, his body was, but he had his head turned hard left, looking over, hard his left, looking toward the bay. And so where we were sitting, we're looking at the right side of his face, and it looked like he wasn't moving, but it looked like a movie prop. It didn't look real, and it wasn't covered in hair. It was covered in fur, very thick. It was a white. The main part was white, sort of a dirty white, kind of like the color of that tissue paper. You know, it's not white, but it's not really yellow. It's like an off white. But he had, yeah, and he had splotches. If you remember the old military camo that we used and we hunted with back in the 70s and early 80s, it was just it was green with all the splotch patterns on it. He had a camo pattern like that. And it was his whole body. He had fur, his head, his face, his whole body's covered in fur. And he had these brown and reddish brown, dark brown, and what looked like it's a gray, but I can't remember I don't have nothing here that color, but he had a gray, a dark gray, just these little patches all over him. And the main color was that all white. And he was so wrong. Everything about it was wrong. That's why I thought it was fake.
Mm.
His knees either had mud on them or he didn't have no hair, no fur on the knees. They were sort of an orange, like a reddish. It looked gray and had like a red look to it also. No, that doesn't even make sense. But
Yeah,
that was the color of it.
it's hard to describe, isn't it? Something, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I could see the red in it, but I could also see the gray. The gray was very dominant. That dark gray. But there was no shine. It wasn't wet. Like he kneeled down. He may have kneeled in the mud and it dried earlier that day. Maybe I don't know. There were no lumps of mud. There was nothing on his knees. Just that color, and there wasn't no fur on it. But he sat there, geez, probably a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes. And I had his frontal profile, and he was looking for the water. And you couldn't tell if he was really moving or like breathing. And a few times I thought I seen his chest rise, but I think that was my mind just messing with me. I don't know if I really did. But his head is what really set him off. And even now, I do not believe it was a Sasquatch at all. I don't know what it was, but his head looked too small for the body. It looked like somebody took a 30-year-old man and put the head of a 10-year-old on it. It looked really small head. His neck it wasn't like ours where you can't even see mine and all that mess, but it wasn't, a long neck. It was like just a little stub.
Right.
But it was hard to tell where his neck stopped and his head started. They were the same diameter. His head and his neck were all the same diameter. But his forehead, he had these big, the eyebrow part like stuck really far out. But the forehead didn't go up like ours. It like went, if the side profile, went up, he had these big burly eyebrow section, and the forehead didn't go up like this. It leaned way back like it. I mean, he should have had a cone or a point. The way it
at the end of
was
it,
really
right?
sharp, and just a little small head. His nose was, really close to the face, and he's got this big top lip that stuck out like he had bubble gum or something behind his lip. It was really
protruding.
Yeah.
Yeah, could have been his teeth.
Mm.
Big teeth pushing it out, maybe.
Oh yeah, it could have been. But the bottom was in. But he had his chin. I mean, everything about it was off. The chin, from the bottom lip to the chin, was, I mean, it was so small. And this dude was big. Much bigger than any human I know. Maybe like Shaq, probably.
Right.
But he had from that lip to his chin, you know, we can't see mine, but instead of being here, it was like here, you know. I mean, he had a really short little chin section. And
Right.
these little bitty ears like ours, but they were really tiny. It looked to be about the size of a nickel, but I'm sure it was bigger because he was just he was enormous. But his arms were the same diameter. He had these massive shoulders that looked like there was a basketball. I mean, they were as large as a basketball and perfectly rounded. You could see the entire ball of the shoulder. And then at the bottom of that ball, it was the same diameter, his bicep, all the way to his hands. There was no narrowing at the elbow or the wrist like there is on us or these Sasquatch creatures. It was all the same diameter. Very strange.
Yeah.
Hello,
Mr. Arnold.
Hey, Gary.
Donnie,
Gary.
how you doing? Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Miss Daniela.
Mr. Arnold.
Sorry I'm late. Just got in. So
I was late too, buddy. So we're good.
I'm not showed up yet.
So Donnie, when you saw the
Hey,
shape,
Larry.
when you saw the shape that was like that, you were seeing the profile. You think with the one eye from the side?
The triangle, yeah. That's what I figured out later. I was seeing the side view of that eye.
Okay.
And that's why it looked like a sideways triangle. It had that rounded edge. That was the pupil part would have been there.
Did you get to finally see a straight on, or did it always stay side eye? Oh, you did.
No, he did.
Okay.
I thought it for a long time. I don't know, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I thought that it was like a movie prop. There couldn't have been nobody out there. That road is so long, and it's not, if you're going down the road, and this happened to us several times. We went fishing. We were leaving, and the game warden truck is coming down because they do go there. People get out there and they catch these little illegal trout and they try to get away with them, but they monitor that area. And so the game warden would come. We would have to back up. They ain't backing up for you. And we would have to back all the way down the road to that 90-degree turn. That's the only place that you could pass is on them 2 turns. The rest of the road is straight, but you got a ditch on both sides. You can't pass. There's no room. Even if you had 4-wheel drive trucks, there's physically no room. The road is maybe 12 feet wide before it drops off to the ditch. And so that we would have passed, if someone would have been out there, we would have seen the tracks, or we would have been blocked from getting back there. But there were no vehicles there at all. And that's what I could not comprehend is, you know, if somebody brought this out here, why? There's very few people that know about that area. Nobody ever goes out there except for the game warden. And maybe 2 times in 10 years, I've seen other people out there fishing, but it very rarely.
Yeah.
But
that's a very strange description.
Well, he had the one eye, and it was glowing. The white part is what was glowing. And as we were sitting there with his body faced me, he's looking out over the water. And so I got a solid minute of just staring at him in the headlight. And he's, 6 to 8 feet from my front bumper. And so I'm maybe 12 feet from him at best. And there was nothing blocking. There's no bushes. That one tree, but it was in the middle of the hood, that pine. And there, it was open view, but he had no belly button that I could see.
We don't go that far.
It was a man.
We don't care about that.
It was a male.
It's going to be a challenge.
Oh, it was a male, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't draw that either.
We're not going to draw that.
But he turned, and where the ditch is right in front of him, he had his toes right there. They may have been touching the water. He was right close to the edge. And he finally turned toward me, and the headlight was hitting him chest area. I mean, he was in the beam of the headlight. And I don't know how, but somehow I know without a doubt that he looked directly in my eyes. That's when I finally snapped out of it. Everybody's screaming and flipping out. Celeste is kicking me. Eddie's punching the seat and punching the roof, and everything was silent. It sounded like a whisper. And when he turned his head and he looked at me, that's when it became real. You know, this, whatever it is, it's alive. And I was thinking alien. And it looked down at the ditch right there in front of him, and he took a step in the ditch coming toward us. And that's when, you know, I finally come to my senses and we got out of there. But when he turned and looked at me, it made sense why there was only one eye glowing. The left side of his face, he didn't have an eye. He had this, I mean, from his eyebrow down, looked like somebody shot him with a shotgun. It was a big mangled mess. It was just flesh. It wasn't, he had no blood on him. There was nothing running down his face. It had to have been done probably within the week, if I were to guess, because a lot of it was really bright red. It was all red. Some of it was real bright, like fresh blood. But I don't know if something attacked him or if he got hit by a car or if somebody shot him. I have no idea. But he had a massive wound on his face right there, and his eye was gone.
Horrifying.
It was scary, but he never changed expression. He didn't growl or snarl. There was no odor. It was, I don't know, unless something was wrong with him mentally, because I was sitting on the hood talking and we weren't whispering at all. And it never moved. He's right there beside me. He could have had me quickly if he wanted to, but I didn't. A lot of times if you get around even predator animals, you can feel them. You know, there's something they emit that you can pick up on, and you go into this fight or flight mode, but it never happened. I wasn't scared of him until I seen him, and seeing something I didn't understand is, I think that's what scared me the most. But he was a very muscular individual, very big arms, but his arms, it looked like he didn't have an elbow or a wrist because it was all the same diameter. It was huge, but his thighs were, I've never seen thighs like that on anyone. And when I seen the legs and really noticed with that thick fur, you could see every muscle in his thighs. And it reminded me of that old movie, Conan the Barbarian, with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Remember how big his thighs were? You could see all the huge muscles. That's the way this guy's thighs look. And he had big calves like that also. But
and you saw both arms too, right, Donnie?
I seen the whole body.
Okay.
The front side.
I was curious if the swollen arm or the arm that looked the same was on the same side with his injury. Maybe that would.
No, both arms were the same.
Okay. And there's no definition. It was just a tube.
Yeah, just they look like pipes. His shoulders are where you could see the muscle. His shoulders were huge. They were literally the size of a basketball. And there was I don't know if you can see my shoulder, but they were round, like even the top. It was like a ball was there. And you could see the striations. The fur was really thick on him, but you could see the definition of his shoulder. There wasn't much in the arm itself. There wasn't much definition at all. It's just these huge, I mean, his arms had to have been as big as a milk jug or bigger. But the shoulders were.
Dustin Duncan described the exact same thing.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. Exact same thing. He didn't even use the same terminology. Basketball on his for shoulders.
Yeah, the shoulders were insanely huge. Even with the Sasquatch that I've seen since then, I've never seen one built like that, with shoulders like that and then the thighs that big. His feet were furry, but would set him off. They weren't abnormally long. They looked right for him, for his size, but the thickness, if you're looking, if this were your foot with your ankle coming up here and your toes down here, the human foot would be like this. His foot was, it was so thick. I bet his feet were that thick down near his toes. It almost, it appeared like he had an extra 1.5 inches of flesh on the bottom of them. They were really thick. And the feet looked odd. But what was so strange, we left, we got out of there, and the car was silent. We took the girls home, dropped them off, and Eddie and I didn't say a word until we turned on the road that he lived with his parents. We were teenagers back then. And when we turned on that road, the silence was finally broke. But we made plans. We'll get up in the morning at daylight and we'll go down there because there will be footprints. Because the ground on that side of the ditch is marshy. It's real soggy, muddy. When we get up and it's storming, it was raining so hard. And we went down there anyway. But when we got down there, the water was so high in the ditch, it was off into the pines, and you couldn't see the ground anyway. But as hard as it was pulling out of there, going into the bay, there wouldn't have been no prints left. But it was just to date, I still have no idea what it was. I shared it with Wes Germer. Wes thinks it may be just another type of Sasquatch, but I've looked probably literally 50 or 60 hours of research online trying to find something close to it, and I haven't found anything. Even to date, I found nothing that's even remotely close to it.
So you don't think it was a Sasquatch, Donnie?
No, I don't think it was at all. He had hands, he had feet, but he was covered in fur. He didn't have hair; it was fur.
Thick,
and it was probably 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. But it was like a one of them false fur jackets you see the ladies wear. If you could imagine that being that thick, but with a coarser hair, it was really weathered. It's definitely been in the elements.
Well, let's see what this thing looks like. Let's get it on paper. And
so I seen his right side and then the frontal. I never seen the left profile, but I got a good right profile, and I don't know how excuse me, I don't know how you would even draw the head, the way it's slanted back. I don't know.
Well, let's just start with let Larry start with the eyes, and then we can take it from there.
Well, let's start from the top of the head. Yeah. What shape is the top of the head, Donnie?
It was rounded, sort of a dull roundness. It didn't have a point. It should have had a point the way the forehead went back, but it was. I don't know the word I'm looking for.
That's hard to see, Larry. It's
like a human head with no forehead, maybe shallow.
The light is right on it.
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Look, I'm not going to stay. I just dropped in. I just want to say something right quick. Yeah. If we can get put up, it is Spook Week, so we're going to be live every night this week, ending Sunday. So I'll be here with Daniela and guests and all for the rest of the week. But I just got in. I just wanted to pop in, remind everyone. Those of you that do help out, we appreciate you so much. Larry spends his time doing this. He does have the farm where he takes care of is it exotic animals? I think exotic animals, yes. And that does that mostly on donations, and ever since COVID, that's I know that hasn't been as much as what they're normally accustomed to. So we really appreciate everyone. If you got a couple of bucks, there's a link in the description that you can donate to Larry's cause there, and we appreciate him spending his time here doing this, drawing cryptids and Bigfoot here for us very much. So I just wanted to kind of say that before I jet on out. I'm going to try to work on the film. I haven't worked on it in almost 2 weeks. Thanks everybody for all the well wishes. I was really, really sick last week, and I appreciate the calls and prayers, and meant a lot. So I just want to say thank you. Good to see you too, Mark. Very much.
Thank you for that for Larry and the animal family.
Oh yeah, awesome. Well, of course. Don't thank me. Hopefully people will respond. Usually they do.
Yeah.
Well, we hope so anyway, but thank you, Donnie, for coming on here and talking about that. I remember you talking about this with me a while back, and it just creeps. The whole thing is just creepy to me. So
thank you for having me over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's fitting for Spook Week for Bigfoot Odyssey. So join us every night this week, 6:00 p.m. Central. Thank you, Daniela, for setting all this up. I'm out.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Be careful.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay.
So can you see that, Donnie?
Hang on, I'm going to put you up a bit bigger, so because it's just a bit light at the moment. We can just see it.
Yeah, it didn't have the point look on it. It was flatter. It was rounded, but it was almost flat.
Like that?
Yes. Yeah, just like that.
Okay. What was this side? What was happening over on the left side?
You could see that the bone for the eyebrows, it wasn't very far. The head was round. The overall design was round, like a ball.
Okay, let me see if I can get that in here.
And Donnie, you said from your perspective, having seen it in profile and straight on, you felt like it looked like it was small, right? For the body, but also that from the front it looked round, but from the side it was very like missile, like a dinosaur.
Yeah, it was. If you could imagine an egg, but kind of leaning back at an angle. You know, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it was kind of oval, but it looked like it should have had a cone on it, on the head, but it didn't.
So when you looked at it straight on, between the eyes and the top of the head was a short distance.
It was real short.
Yeah, gotcha.
Almost like as though his forehead were mashed down. I'm sorry about the dog barking.
It's all right.
What's happening on this side here, Donnie?
The head was uniform of both sides. It was round.
Like that?
Yeah, like that. The bottom of it, he had a little tiny chin, but it did stick out from the ball of the head itself. It had a little pudgy chin, a very short one.
Like that?
Yes. Yep, just like that.
Okay. You say the eyes were close to the top of the head?
They were.
Okay, I'm going to move my pencil down real slow and you tell me when to stop.
About there.
Okay. Brow ridge?
Yes, it had the brow ridge was enormous on it. Very thick, but it actually you could see the bone of the eyebrow. When he looked straight at me, I could see the bone sticking off from the side of the head.
The orbital bones from the side.
Yeah,
is that what you mean, Donnie?
Was the brow ridge straight across, or was it at an angle?
It seems like it was arched.
Okay.
Sort of lower on the sides than in the middle.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's hard to. It's really hard to see it without the eyebrows being on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was up a little higher. Now that I'm,
higher? Okay.
yeah, up the forehead a little higher. Now that I see the line on there, there wasn't a lot of head above the eyebrows. It was very abnormal looking.
Okay.
It's going to be hard, this one, isn't it? Because it's completely out.
It
of the
is.
ordinary.
I can remember it. I remember like it's right there in front of me, but
Okay.
it's
Now,
so hard.
would this be about the distance from the brow ridge, or up a little bit
Yes,
more?
I believe that would be it.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, doggone it. I'm sorry about that. I did not. Maybe silence that, or tell her I'll call her later, please. I forgot to silence the phone. I'm sorry, guys.
That's all right.
I put it on charge because it's about dead. And
How thick was the brow ridge? If I start from here, I'll move my pencil down.
you said how thick?
Yeah.
Like
About there.
like
About there?
It was. Yes, sir. It was very thick.
And did it stretch all the way across the forehead, Donnie?
It
The
did.
brow ridge, the bump, I guess the loaf across the forehead.
It looked like a wave under the skin, but
Yeah.
it was all the way across. But I could see the brow ridge past the side of the head. I mean, it really stuck out.
Oh, okay.
far.
Okay.
It didn't look like it was attached to him. It was very odd looking.
Like he had a sweatband tied around his head, kind of.
Yes, just like
Okay.
that. But
Gotcha.
not quite as as wide as a sweatband. But yes, absolutely.
Is that width that Larry's got for you? Okay.
That the right side, that's it. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Which side of the head was the eye on?
The eye was on that
The functional
side. His right, your left. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
As he was looking at me, I was seeing my left. I was seeing that eye right there.
And describe the shape once again of the eye.
It was shaped like a human eye, but it was
Big.
big. Yes.
You said a silver dollar, maybe, or bigger, like coaster.
Yeah, it looked to be about the size of a silver dollar. It was really, really large.
That size?
A little bit bigger, a little wider. No, I think the height is pretty close, but a little wider. His face looked sort of mashed.
How's that?
Usually, well, you mean the nose?
The eye.
No,
Oh,
it
yeah.
looked like the face was like compressed. It was strange. It's hard to explain it.
Is that shape of the eye correct though? In the size?
The side of the eye, that corner, that point was actually like sagging down a little. And I've seen it before in an animal, but I don't remember which animal. Yes, like that.
Like that?
Yes.
Okay, the nose. Now I'm going to start from the top of the brow ridge, or the bottom of the brow ridge, and I'm going to move my pencil down. And you tell me when to stop for the length of the nose.
About there.
Okay, describe the nose to me once again.
You couldn't tell where the nostrils were. It looked like he had a shield over the nose. It was the way he was built. He didn't, but it appeared it was just a lump. It didn't have the point of the nose and then the two flares of the nostrils.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a hood. It had like a hood over it. Is the way the appearance was like a hood, but he definitely had two nostrils. But it was flat.
How wide was it?
I'm sorry.
How wide was it?
Was it flat? Is that
It's
why you
hard
couldn't
to-
see the nostrils?
It was flat to the face, and it looked a little wide for him, but yet it looked small for his head. I know that doesn't make any sense at all, but
Yeah, it does.
I think it'd have been easier if he had the other eye. Where if the being had both his eyes, it would have been easier to tell. But that one side was so messed up, it was hard to tell. The edge of the nose was messed up. Just that whole side was banged up, and it may have been why his nose looked that way. It could have been swollen.
Did it have a flare to it or more of a triangular?
It was it was, I don't know exactly what you're meaning, but it from right there between the eyes, it almost looked like like it went out like a triangle, sort of.
Okay. So the bridge of the nose, like where your eyeglasses set, that was narrow, and the rest, the nostrils were wide, where the nostrils would be.
The bridge of the nose, it was hard to tell. It was like it was part of his eye socket. It just kind of went, and I don't know how to explain that.
No, that makes sense.
It wasn't defined at all.
It was shot flat there.
Yeah, I could see the bottom of the nose and the width real easy, but the top you couldn't really see the bridge of the nose. It was like it was flat, like it was in his face. It was there, but I could see it when he had his head sideways, and it was real close to the face. His whole nose was. It didn't stick out much. His top lip stuck out as far as his nose did. It was really odd.
Am I close on the nose here? You tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that's it, Larry.
How wide was his mouth?
About the width of his nose, but his mouth was closed.
Okay.
But his top lip was real puffed out. From the nose down.
Let's go from the. Let me just tell me when to stop.
About there. That would have been the top of the top lip.
Okay. And you say it was about as wide as his nose? Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's about this wide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, of course, it went down to his chin. And you say the chin's accurate?
May have to come closer to the mouth with it. He didn't have, his chin was very short from the bottom lip to the bottom of his chin.
Yeah.
It was abnormally short.
Okay, I'm gonna move my pencil down, and you tell me when to stop.
For the bottom of the chin?
Yeah.
About there. Yeah, I was way off, wasn't I?
That's all right.
Yeah, a lot of the real features come in when he starts getting into the shade and everything with the depth. The depth will make a big difference, it sounds like, with this guy or gal. Oh, no, you said it was a guy.
It was a guy.
We don't draw that.
Not drawing that.
Just do a little side figure forever.
He would have been one I wouldn't have been ashamed to stand up there next to him with. His mama didn't give him no tool pouch.
Daniela, are you gonna allow this?
You know, he
That's about $20 in a swear jar. That's a swear story.
We're not even allowed to say
You know,
swears.
but not to be gross, but that part of him looks animal. It did. It looked like
I've heard that
like a
before.
dog. It looked animal. It was really strange.
Right.
Oh wow.
This is intriguing.
Listen to Danielle. Right.
Right.
Right. Maybe we should do an after show
Yeah.
Not an animal in a good way.
when we're offline and
Everything
see what
was
it's like.
he was covered in that fur. Everything was covered in that fur except for his knees and his
His
toes.
whole face.
His whole face was covered in it.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Let's get on to this. Where there used to be an eye, and it was same size as this, I assume.
No, it was from the brow area, the brow ridge.
Yeah.
It was a mangled. It was just shredded, and it went from the brow all the way down just past the bottom of his nose. It was that whole side of his face, like he had been shot with a shotgun.
Mm. I don't think this is a Bigfoot, Sharon. Donnie's saying it's not. You don't think it's a Bigfoot, do you?
I don't.
No.
Okay. Would that be about the size of the injury?
Yeah, it didn't quite go to the side of the face, but it was very close to it. I could see his flesh on that side, and he had little tiny ears, and I could see the ear also, like that.
Were the ears like right here?
Yeah, that about the same place where ours are. They may have been a little bit lower, but they were so small.
What they look like?
Looked like our ears, but half the size. Probably less than half the size. They're really small.
Like that?
Yeah. They were almost flat against, like a chimpanzee, how their ears are. I think it's a chimpanzee. One of the monkeys have the ears against the head, but it looks like a human ear. That's the way his was. Yeah, like that.
That's accurate.
Yes.
The mouth is the right size.
It is.
Okay. That eye's the right size.
Yes.
And the brow ridge is correct.
Yes, sir.
And this is all right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. On this eye here, how much of it was black?
I could see white around the pupil on that one, or the colored part of your eye, I guess is the pupil. I could see white all the way around it, but not much at the top and bottom.
Okay. When you say all around about this, like something like this?
No, bigger than that.
Oh, the white part around the corner. What is that called? The iris? I don't know. So like the colored part of the eye.
Is that closer?
It was bigger than that. About that same width that you added from the first time. About that much again.
Like that?
Yes. Yeah.
That was white.
Yeah, all around that was white. The center part was all black. All of it was.
Okay.
It almost looked like he had a cataract. There was a white, a sort of a white look. It was black, but it sort of had a white glow to it. I don't know.
Cloudy.
Yeah, it looked cloudy, like someone with cataracts.
Yeah, like a marble, like a cloudy marble.
Yeah. And it may Eddie and I were talking about it a few days after we had seen it. And he thinks that the white of the eye was it reflecting the headlight, but I don't know. It wasn't a shine. It looked internal to me, but I don't know. It could have been the headlight. But before we turned the lights on, when the white part was glowing, that center was black.
Oh, wow.
And that's what creeped me out when I guess he had his head down and he lifted his head up and looked at me. And that's when I seen the bright green outline with a black center. And that's when the chill set in.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense for it to be one eye unless it was a cyclops. And then when he turned and looked at me, then it was almost a confirmation for me. When he looked and I seen that big wreck on the side of his face, it was like an internal confirmation. Yes, this is real. Yes, you did see it.
So was the feeling that it was human in any way, shape, or form?
No,
I
don't think it was at all. It had all the attributes of a human, but the proportions were really messed up on him. Everything was messed up. I think he would have been just as frightening looking if he had the other eye. I think I'm kind of glad he didn't, because I only had one eye staring at me through the headlight. But
yeah, depth perception. He had no depth. Obviously, had no depth perception. So maybe that's what kept him.
Well, there wasn't a way he wouldn't have known that we were there. It just I don't think it's possible.
Yeah,
I'm in a white Chevy Nova, and where I parked at, the car was probably 12 feet from him. I mean, he was right there. And when I turned and I put the bumper of the car against that pine tree, he was probably 7 or 8 feet from the bumper. He was right there. And it just, like, it didn't bother him at all that we were there. He wasn't afraid of us in any way.
Wow.
But I don't know. It didn't. I never got an impression that he was alien to this planet, or something from another dimension or whatever. I don't understand any of that stuff. But I did not feel that he was part of evolution of life on Earth. I really don't think he's part of it. To date, I haven't heard nobody ever describe something the same. I haven't heard it yet. I've heard some close, but most of what people are seeing has hair. And this thing was covered in fur. There was no mistake in the fur. It was thick. It was thick on the face. Just the whole body was covered in it. The only thing that wasn't covered in hair besides his knees, his toes may not have been. It was hard to tell. But his ears had no hair on them at all, and they looked like the color of the ashes from a cigarette. If you see when somebody when they put out all their cigarettes in the ashtray, that color, that it's not really black, but it's not gray either.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of that color, almost had a blue tint to it.
Am I close at all?
The white part of the eye was it was white, sort of a yellowy white when I got the headlight on him, but it was glowing green before I got in the car and put the headlight on him. It was green.
You're talking about like around the middle of the eye?
Right here.
Yeah, all the white, like we can see in our eyes. The white part that's what was glowing on him, was the white. It wasn't the middle part of the eye, like animals, that middle part of glow. This was the white that was glowing.
Oh, the actual eyeball. I gotcha.
Yeah. I don't know what any of the parts are called. I know one part is a pupil. I just don't know which part that is.
So Larry, in other than the middle part of the eye, the part that's colored, the blue, like for me, it's the brown, and then the pupil. All that around it, the actual eyeball part is all white.
Here's all white.
All the sides, yeah, the sides of the eye, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that part's called. I'm sorry. It looked like it just looked like a human eye that was just out of proportion. The center part,
yeah.
you know, like I got the little black dot in the middle, and then the green yellow ring around my eyes, and then it's all white. His was all black, the middle part, and then the rest of it was white.
This was white.
That's what. Yeah, the regular white part of the eye was white.
Yes.
He's saying that the part that's either blue, green, or brown was black. So that, I misunderstood that too. So all the regular white part.
Yeah, it looked like a human eye, but the colored part, which ours varies in color, different people have different colors. His was black, that part, and you couldn't see the little black dot in the very middle because it was all black. That middle part, all the white, the rest of the eye was white.
Yeah.
To get his, we call them rubbers over here.
Kneadable eraser.
Yeah.
I think that's what Larry uses, or he actually introduced me to the kneadable eraser and how it solves all my art problems because I'm constantly fixing things. But especially with charcoal, what Larry's using, kneadable eraser becomes your highlighter. It becomes your everything. So as much as with charcoal, you can get as dark as you want to get, but you end up using that eraser to get all the highlights and all that stuff. So,
and this was fluorescent green.
Yeah. The part on us that's white for this thing was almost fluorescent green.
Yes, that's right.
I pictured that different too. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. He's got the pastels. I need to learn the pastels.
Yeah, they can go on top of anything then, can they? The pastels.
Mm-hmm. They'll just layer right on top of it. That's called experience.
Wow.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
You're a magician, Larry.
That's creepy. I didn't think he was going to color it. That's creepy.
He usually doesn't. But when the neon's such a strong part of the story, it seems almost like you can't avoid it.
It was the same color as one of them little sticks that you get. You break it and you shake it up. That bright green.
The light sticks, or what do they call it? Glow stick.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was a glow fly. Just maybe a group of them, but it wasn't turning on and off. And then when it made that last movement, it looked up to where I seen the shape of the eye and the center part. That's when I got creeped out. I got in the car.
That's when I would have gotten in the car too.
But I wanted to leave, but I had to see it because I've never seen that before, and I've seen some strange things in my life, but to date I've never seen nothing like that again. And
hey, Donnie,
yes.
before that experience, were you engaged in looking for creatures and things of this nature?
No, but back then I was actually a professional skateboarder, and
oh, nice.
Skateboarding and fished and hunted, and that was about it.
Wow.
We went in the woods, but it was riding dirt bikes. That was about it. They were hunting. I didn't hike. I didn't do that. Yeah.
So your experience
this was fur here, like here.
I'm sorry.
Was this fur here?
Yes.
And this is fur all here and here, and okay.
Yeah, it was around the eyes. It looked really, really short, almost like velvet.
Okay.
But you could see it. You could see it. The actual tufts of fur on the cheek. It was really dense right there on the cheek and the side of the head.
What about the nose? Was the nose the same? Short on the nose, or was the nose bald?
It was short. It looked like that velvet, short. Couldn't see the skin. It was completely covered in hair or fur. The only spot on the face that wasn't was the actual lips weren't, and then that big hole on the side of his face that wasn't.
Jeez, gosh, man.
But it was
perfect
nasty.
for Halloween. We haven't had a real anything with any kind of gore, any kind of injury.
Yeah, that thing was bad. And I was talking to Carrie once before about it. I think it was last year, and Carrie had brought up something, and maybe there was another one or another type of creature like this that they got into it, and it would make sense because it could have been maybe a bite injury. I don't know. Just
yeah.
I kind of wish he would have told me, before we took off, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't wait. When he stepped toward the car, that was it.
And say, hey, what happened?
He had so much time to get to us. I mean, he had all the time in the world, and I was sitting on the hood of the car, and the car was turned off, and he just sat there the whole time. And if I would have seen him, I would have had a heart attack. If I would have seen his body when I was out there, I don't think I would have made it to the door. I would have just lost control of everything. And when we did see it, it just, I don't know. I kept thinking it was like a stuffed animal type thing. I thought somebody put it out there to mess with people who come out there fishing. And when it moved, I knew it was moving because I seen that green going back and forth, and I knew it moved. And just everything's running through your head. Maybe it was something else I was seeing moving, and maybe it's a possum or something on it, and somebody put this mannequin here. But when it's turned its head toward me, that was it. There was no, I knew it was real. Whatever it was real. And there's no way a man could have wore a costume like that. There's no way.
Yeah.
Just the size alone. It wasn't like a lot of people are witnessing these 10 and 12 foot Sasquatch. It wasn't like that. It wasn't, super huge, but it was bigger than any human I know. It was just the proportions were so messed up. There was so much mass on him, muscle mass, and the arms, the shoulders seem to be, if you can imagine, if you're looking at bodybuilders, his shoulders would have been a bodybuilder 3 times as big as what his arms were. It just that they didn't match. They were so enormous, they didn't match his arms at all.
Mm.
Is that right on the eye where the fur was?
Yes. Yeah, it made the eye look like he was malnutrition, like it was sunken into his head is the way that appeared.
Mm.
And it may have been, but I think it was that bone, that brow ridge bone. I think it was sticking out so far that it gave it that appearance. But
And you think that the bridge of the nose under that brow ridge was pretty even with the eyes? As far as flatness?
No, the eye did go in from there, but it was it wasn't like ours. I don't think if he needed glasses, I don't think they would have stayed on his face because he didn't have a raised up. It wasn't raised up much at all.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm going to come back to this.
The point of his nose was really really short. It was really close to the face. I don't think it stuck out no more than a ½ inch from his face.
The tip.
Yeah, the tip of it.
Man, that eye is crazy.
It almost, the nose, it almost appeared like he had one nostril. That's the shape the nose reminded me of. Like he had one big nostril. He didn't. You could see the two nostrils, but it kind of had that appearance because it was just a dome, you know, with two nostrils in the bottom. You couldn't see from the top. You couldn't see where the nostrils flared out. The nostril flares. You couldn't see that at all. And it could have just been that little bit of that velvet fur stuff he had on it. That could have hidden it.
I'm gonna try and draw this gruesome mess.
Oof. I'll be right back in 2 seconds.
All right.
Yeah, I've been having internet problems, so I'm back.
Yeah, don't drop your router. You'll have a lot of problems.
I've just changed over to a new kind of service, and it's been going off pretty much every show I've done.
Oh, gee.
Usually at night. Well, I'm noticing it at night time. So who knows what it is? I need to look into it. This thing is very strange, isn't it? So there was a brow ridge then, an actual brow ridge.
Yeah. It was a really very pronounced brow ridge on him. Larry, if it helps any, that side of the face literally looked like fresh ground hamburger. There was a lot of texture to it, but there was not a hole like where his eyeball was. All of it was hamburger.
Oh,
it was deeper.
Hamburger.
Yeah, and where the eye was, that was definitely deeper in the face, but there wasn't a pocket for an eyeball to sit in. It was all just ground up, shredded meat. He had a bad day, whatever happened to him.
It was fresh then, was it?
It looked fresh. There wasn't any blood running down his face, but it was all red, but some parts of it were really bright red, like it may have had fresh blood on it. But there was like down his face on the fur below it, there was no blood, or there was nothing that looked like blood on the fur.
This is the thing, though. You know, if these animals have an accident, they can't go to the hospital, can they? They're walking around with wounds. You know, it just has to deal with itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that was it was really it was nasty to see. It gave you that creepy feeling of, you know, what does he feel like? You know, feeling that. But it had to. Oh, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't handle nothing like that. But something got the best of him. That's for certain. If he won that fight, I'd hate to see what the other one looked like.
I feel like a weapon injury would be terminal in this case if it was right through his left eye. But who knows?
Yeah, it did look to me. We did a lot of hog hunting when I was younger, and we used dogs and knives. We used it all. But what it reminded me of, we had taken some big hogs off Choctawhatchee River in the Panhandle of Florida. One of them got after us, and this was after he was shot twice. And they'll lay there and play dead until you get up on them, and they'll use that last bit of energy to get you. Well, I was to the side, and Barry was in front of him, coming up. He wasn't breathing, and what it was, he was holding his breath. He lay there motionless, and you walk up. You come up from behind normally, and you take your rifle or your shotgun, whatever you're using, turn the safety off, make sure you got a round in the chamber, and you, with the barrel, you touch his eyeball. And they cannot, if you touch his eye, he's going to blink, period. He can't. That's one thing that it's an involuntary action. And if he blinks, you squeeze the trigger and he's done. We didn't have a chance. Barry was up there 3 feet from him, and that is big old boar hog, and he lunged up at Barry. And I tried to shoot and hit him in the lungs, and I hit him high on the back. It happened so fast, but it blew just a big portion of flesh away. And that's exactly what this dude's face looked like. Like he was like a glancing shot.
Oh, gotcha.
The eye was gone, though. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe he was hit by a car.
He could have just walked out into something, couldn't he? I mean, it makes sense, Mark. If it was a bullet or a knife, it could have touched the brain.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like if it's still walking around.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a theory while I rest my joint here for a minute. My knuckle. Chimpanzees, the males will disfigure each other, such as biting off another chimp's fingers, biting in the face, biting off the ears, for one reason. So that chimp is not attractive to the females.
Wow.
Wow.
They will do that. So,
that would make sense, because that's the following day after we went back looking for tracks. Eddie said, "Do you think that something bit him on the face?" And I said, "No, I don't believe so." But the way the face, it was so shredded. The outline of it, it wasn't like a knife cut it out. It was shredded. I mean, it was whatever got him bad.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only injury that I could see. There was nothing else wrong with it.
Hey, Michael, does that look like hamburger?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it was shredded like that. It was bad, and there were parts that looked like a piece of chicken cooked, like breast meat. You know, it's kind of stringy.
Right.
There were parts on that injury that looked like strings of flesh.
Oh,
Wow.
fibrous.
Yeah.
Fibers. Yeah.
Yeesh.
But the majority of it was like hamburger, and then it had them shreds in it. So I don't know, something. He got into a bad situation somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it could have been a hunter. He walked across and shot him and just maybe grazed him, but I don't know why it didn't. If it were a shotgun, he would have had more pellet wounds, unless it was point blank.
Larry has a good story about a guy that took a shot at one peeking out from behind a tree, right, Larry?
Yeah.
So.
He dropped him,
Yeah.
and it hit the ground, and then within 2 seconds, here come another one, threw it up over his shoulder and walked off with it.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
That was in Washington that happened.
Wow.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if with how many bad incidents they've had with humans, dating way back 1800s, shooting at them and trying to catch them in snares, and just, we don't have a good track record. I mean, just to give you an idea, one of the guys I was hunting with this weekend, Saturday was opening day for us for archery. And Chris, most of the people on here know Chris Claghorn. He has Claghorn Outdoors on YouTube. He's my hunting partner. He's a brother to me, and just, he'd do anything in the world for me, and I do the same for him. But we have, it's just an hunter's etiquette. There's certain animals that you don't shoot, and even bow season, anything's legal as long as it doesn't have spots. But right now, Florida, the weather's been so out of whack these last 5 or 6 years. The does are having 2 and 3 babies a year. They're having multiple birthings. And well, this other guy that was out there hunting with us, a doe came in, instead of watching her and checking, he just shot, and she was full of milk. And today he went back out, the same guy went back out, and the little spotted baby come walking up looking for his mama, which he ended up shooting. But it's a lot of people, they shoot. If something comes in, they're going to shoot it. They're not going to have second thoughts about it. And you get one of these little Sasquatch, one of their offspring, little 3-foot baby comes in. There's a lot of hunters that are going to shoot it. And any parent in their right mind is going to not be very happy. You go hurting their children or killing them.
It's a good point. Look, this injury could have been done by anything, just walking into something even, and you said it's by the river. So
it's by the bay.
By the bay.
Yep. And for those that are watching this, that are familiar with Panama City Beach, there is a driving range, a golf course and driving range on Back Beach Road called Colony Club. And this fella here, I seen 4 of us were together whenever we came across this guy. You have to drive through the Colony Club, and they got a road out. It's paved now. It's called Moonlight Bay Drive. And at the very end of it, where it meets the water, that's where we encountered that. And it's the water there is West Bay, and it's part of the Intercoastal Canal, Intercoastal Waterway. But there's a lot of wild pigs out there. A lot of people claim to have seen panthers out there. I've never seen a panther out there, but I have seen bear tracks. And a bear probably could have done that to him, but you'd think he'd have more wounds, all the claws they got.
This is the place.
Sorry to Ryan Carboy, who said, I wish I hadn't eaten before I joined.
Yeah, I saw that.
Having a hamburger tonight.
I've got the place up here on a map. And
wow.
You see, wow, they really developed it. All right, zoom in. That should be, let's see, Moonlight Bay.
It's like a song title.
Yeah, it's Moonlight Bay Drive. Let's see. Go down toward the bottom a little bit. It should be that road right there to the left, I think. It's been that dirt road going off. That looks like it.
Up here.
Sharon
but
made a good
it's
point.
actually. Oh wait, what's that other one? Is that it?
Gales Trail.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Let's see.
But there's lots of terrain here, isn't there? Places something like that could.
Yeah,
easily.
there were no houses back there. Whenever I had that inside.
It goes right round, doesn't it? This drive. Sorry, I see it goes around the front, the front of the bay there.
And that's all the bay there, all that brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the.
Oh, I see. Wow.
But let's see, from there, if you go, let's see, is that Moonlight Bay right there?
Yeah, coming down here.
Okay, yeah. All right, go toward the water. All right, see right there where it meets that other road?
The first one here or at the bottom?
Up there toward the top, toward the water.
Yeah.
Right there. All right. That's where I had to take the left. All right.
Okay.
You go to the end right there. And that was, you have to take a right. You can see the old road there still.
Yeah.
See the little dead ends at the water? All right. That's the ditch. That's the ditch right there.
Got you.
Yep. Wow. I didn't think you could pull that up on there. But that's it. That's where it happened. We were about 50 to 70 feet from the water, right there on that ditch.
Wow.
If you back up just a little bit, all right, you see where the little sand road is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring your cursor from the water, go down the road a little bit, and I'll show you. Go closer toward the water.
Sorry.
Right there. Well, see. Yeah. Come back down the road just a little bit. Right about there. We was on that road, and the ditch is right there to the left of it. You see the water? Yep, right there is where it happened.
Wow.
If you bring your cursor back just a little bit, right there. That's where we had the car parked, and there's the ditch right there beside it.
Wow.
But it was a two trail. It looks like a walking path now. But you parked right there.
Ago. Yeah, it was a while ago, wasn't it? You said.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. This was around 89 or 90. All of that was woods. There were no houses. But I'll show you, if you zoom out a little bit, now go to the left at the water's edge. I'll show you, there's a shrimp farm back here. And that's when I shared with Carrie about them. We called them things cat people. We didn't know what they were. But it had happened, let's see, I think it's a little further down. There's some reservoirs where they used to keep the shrimp, and they would ship them out. I think it's closer toward Moonlight Bay Drive. Boy, that looks so different now. That may be, no, that ain't it.
Could have been there maybe once.
That they may have tore the buildings down since then, but it was dirt roads you had to take to get back there, and it's the old shrimp farm, and they were raising and shipping shrimp throughout the world, but they used it as a cover for a cocaine operation, and they got shut down.
Right.
Oh.
But we would go there on the weekends, all the guys we went to high school with, and we would have parties out there. And that's where we had them things coming up around the building. We were sleeping in the building, and it had these huge garage doors. There weren't no door on them. Somebody already stole the doors, but the openings were there. And that's where all that happened.
There's been some really interesting comments happening regarding the injury. I think some things as far as some flesh-eating diseases you can get from eating deer that have had some of those diseases. Snake bite venom, possibly. Other things that could have maybe eaten through.
I think
this is an interesting comment. Ryan says, were the fibers running vertically like how Larry is drawing it? I didn't hear how Donnie says that, but probably missed it. If so, does it make sense? Well, maybe not another Sasquatch, but something clawing it that way.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. But yes, the fibers were like he's drawn in this. Well, I didn't say anything. He just, that does make sense.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. But the expression on his face as he was looking at us, it was as though it didn't bother him.
He wasn't wincing with the other eye or anything.
No. It's like it didn't matter to him if it was gone or not. It was almost as though you got the impression he had no feelings. Like a lot of your animals, like your I'm a fan of pit bulls. I love them. They're very they got a bad rap, and it's usually because they have bad owners in most cases. But they're awesome animals, but they don't have the full sense of feel as a normal dog. And so when they get in a fight and get chewed on, it's not hurting them like it would a Labrador or even a German Shepherd. They don't feel the pain the same. Mm-hmm. And it's supposedly due to the different inbreeding and crossbreeding that they had to do in order to come up with them. But I don't know how much truth there is to that, but these guys may be the same. I don't know. Anything that'll rip a 10-inch tree out of the ground and can throw it, I don't think much.
Yeah. What hurts you, it hurts them less. Question, Donnie, from Darren. Do you think it was by itself? Did you get any sense that it was accompanied?
I believe it was. I didn't pick up nothing. There was no sensation of anything even being there. And that's what's strange about it. Most of the time, if you've ever been in an area where there is a Sasquatch, you know, before you ever hear a sound, you get a feeling, a really strong, intense, almost like a pressure. And then, you know, activity will start. But I never got nothing. None of us did. And the girls would never talk about it. And Eddie's girlfriend, she still lives in Panama City. She used to go to our church, and probably 10 years ago, I brought it up to ask her about it, and she cut me off, said she don't want to talk about it. And nothing happened. It didn't charge us. Nothing bad happened. We just seen it. Yeah. And when it took a step in the ditch toward us, that's when, you know, we got out of there. But if you wanted to see, it wouldn't have been any problem, because I had to do a 3 or 4 point turn just to get the car. I had to back out. There wasn't enough room to turn the car completely around, so I had to kind of finagle the car to get the headlights facing toward the base so I could back out. And I flew out of there. And I don't know how I didn't put us in the ditch or hit a tree. I was a teenage driver. I should have killed all of us, you know, as hard as I was panicking, but I didn't.
And honestly, if he had taken off, where did he have to go from there? Because it looked pretty.
It was all wooded back then.
Okay.
There were no houses. That was when you got to that point on Moonlight Bay Drive where you have to turn to the left. Back then, you could go to the right, but it was really sandy, and it went to a little pond, a little small mud hole of a pond, and that was it. There wasn't any houses, there weren't telephone poles, there were nothing back there but trees. And we've had a lot of very successful hunting trips in that area. It's loaded with wildlife, where it used to be. Now, by the looks of it, the wildlife is the teenagers that come down for spring break.
I wonder if they run into these things. Jeez.
I don't know. One of the guys I grew up with, I went and visited with him. He's always been a really good friend. And we touched base a few months ago, and I went out to see him. I haven't seen him since we were 22, 23 years old. And he was, I told him about the channel and, you know, the experiences I've had with the Sasquatch and some of these other things I've seen. And he had some stories. And I asked him if he'd let me interview him to put it on the channel. And he said he would, but his language is very rough, and he's always drinking. He's what I would call a drunk, without a doubt. And I'm not going to put that on the channel, so I decided against it. But he told me some really fascinating encounters he's had out there.
Yeah.
And one of them, I was with him, and I remember parts of that night, but I don't remember the encounter. I remember something happening, but I just, it was so long ago, I don't recall it. So I can't really vouch for it.
Donnie, can you see the comments at all?
I cannot.
Okay. Ryan, who had a couple other questions, he asked, did the injury look fresh or was it already healed over? I'd think some form of infection will get in there with the injury if it was traumatic.
It was I think it was within the week. It was not healed up at all. There were a lot of parts of it that were very bright red, like fresh blood. But a lot of it looked like it had started scabbing over. I do believe it was within 5 days. I just, it didn't happen that day. He just, there was no blood all over him. It was just right there where the injury was.
You said there was no real like pain in the face, no wincing or.
No, just like the way Larry drew it right there. I mean, that's how he looked. He looked at us just like it was just another day.
Did you get you described the distance between you and the creature, but what would you say was like the height? Somebody asked that a few minutes ago.
That road, that Moonlight Bay Drive where we parked, I was sitting on the hood. It was a 77 Chevrolet Nova. And I was sitting on the hood, excuse me, above the front tire. And he was eye level with me. I believe his eyes were at the same exact level as mine.
Okay.
And that side of the ditch is right at 3 feet lower than the side where the car's parked. It's 3 feet lower than the road that we were parked on. So I'm guessing somewhere between 7 and 8 feet. I would guess.
That sounds about right.
But he was
Fly by Stu. Thank you for the question. That was a good one.
Texas Jack says, Donnie, do you think this thing was one of those cat people creatures?
No. The ones that we seen that we called cat people, they looked like small Sasquatch, small Bigfoot creatures, but their pupil was vertical like a cat, and that's the only reason that I don't remember who called them cat people at first, but the name stuck.
It was the line in the eye.
Yeah, when we went down the road with the headlights, their eyes would glow before you got up on them, where you could actually see them. Yikes. And the pupils were vertical. And we actually had 2 of them run beside the truck when we all left. A bunch of vehicles left to go get beer at the beer store. And when we were coming back down the road, we had 2 of them on my side of the truck that were running alongside us. And we're probably going 20 or 25 miles an hour, I guess. I wasn't driving. But one of them kept turning and looking at me, and the pupils were vertical. It looked like a cat or a goat it was the up and down slot pupil. And I don't know what they were, but that's the only thing that looked like a cat on them was the pupil. They had the long hair like a Sasquatch has, but they were just smaller. I think most of them were probably between 4 and 6 foot. There were a bunch of them, whatever they were. There were a lot of them out there.
Yikes!
There was a comment here. This eye has made everyone hungry. Brisket and all sorts been brought up tonight. So, yeah.
I never thought about it that way.
It's amazing, isn't it? Just what can trigger. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
Mike rocks.
Yeah, just slightest thing can set you off, can't it? The tummy rumbling, bit of shredded meat there, you know, on the screen.
Especially on.
How does the meat look? Is that?
What was that, Larry?
How does the meat look?
It looked like hamburger with some, longer shreds in it. But yeah, that's.
Does that
look?
Yeah, it was darker up where the eye would have been, but I think it's only because it was a little deeper and into his face right there.
All right.
Oh yeah, he'll get the depth in there for sure.
But yeah, the texture look to it, yes, absolutely. I think it's spot on.
Everybody's eating hamburgers tonight and watching the show.
Or, if they were, maybe they're not now.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't cheeseburgers.
If you mix a sandwich with that would be.
Ooh.
That's actually that's closer to what it would have been like.
I don't know why they call it hamburger helper. It does all right on some. Oh gosh. See, here's the thing is we give Larry these little pieces and then he's going to make it twice as terrifying and everybody's going to be getting sick.
That's been my whole day.
And then he'll go to bed with a smile on his face.
Salad bar tonight.
I think we are having spaghetti tonight.
Oh gosh.
I've actually looked at this just on YouTube. It does look really good. It looks like a piece of sirloin.
Mm-hmm. just shadowing that brow line just gave it the depth that I did not need to see.
I want a little bit more.
Larry's just wrong. You're right, Darren. He's just wrong. And it's like he prides himself on it.
Oh, I do.
Yikes.
I'm gonna mute the mic just for a second. I gotta plug my nose.
Okay.
I don't think that'll bother anybody. Yeah.
I think you plugged the camera.
Yourself there.
That's the same sound when they was pulling that meat off his face. Whatever did that.
Well, we all do it, don't we?
We didn't put the rating on this show, did we?
We didn't.
Mm-mm.
People know, though, to, keep it clean. It's clean.
Ribeye. Oh, Teddy, you win.
Oh,
Teddy wins.
Yeah, I don't mind a ribeye, actually. I prefer ribeye to sirloin.
Oh. Teddy Boren. Ribeye. Now you're talking.
Oh, Sharon had minced pork for supper. Just to,
Yikes. That's an English dish, right? Minced pork.
Minced pork. I mean, how have you had that, Sharon? How have you made that? I do mix sometimes pork with beef.
Only in my meat pies. I make them in my meat pies.
Meatballs. But yeah, always turns to food. I thought we were going to read that question.
Jamie put Chef Ramsay's voice. Where's the seasoning? Oh my God.
And that's toned down, isn't it? For Ramsay?
Yeah. Where's the seasoning?
It's here.
That eye is actually going to make... Actually, I'll be right back.
Oh.
You said his upper lip protruded?
Yes. His upper lip was much thicker as far as the height going from the nose down. The upper lip was much thicker and it protruded significantly past the bottom lip.
Okay.
It was about the same. It stuck out from his face the same as his nose from the side profile.
Okay.
Which his nose wasn't really tall on his face anyway. It was rather smashed in. But that is the look of the mouth. He wasn't snarling, or he just nonchalantly looking at me.
Mm.
I hate to see. I'm wondering if, seeing it now being put on paper, I'm wondering if he were to open his mouth up, if that would have, caused any bleeding or anything to happen on that side of his face. It was bad. It was, whatever happened to him was definitely a nasty injury.
Yeah. You just wonder whether, there was any brain damage, or adrenaline, and shock can do really crazy things, can't they? You can keep yourself together for a certain amount of time and then you collapse.
Well, it made sense when Larry said some of the different primates will disfigure one another, so they're not attractive, and it made sense. Where he was talking about sometimes they'll bite off, fingers or ears, or bite a plug out of one of them's face, and that it's almost what it appeared with this thing, whatever it was. The skin was literally, it was missing off that side of the face, but so was the eye, and it was banged up pretty bad.
Who knows what happened and whether it survived it.
Yeah, I don't know if he didn't have an infection. I could easily see him getting one, but the only colors that were in it was the red, and then the real bright red in certain areas of it, and it looked like a really bad skint knee. If you see where somebody's really got some road rash on their knee, that's sort of what it resembled. There was no skin on the face right there at all.
Where? There?
Where his eye was missing.
Oh, okay.
That side of the face, it's like something literally bit that whole section out of it. Wow.
Very intriguing. And the lip there, yeah, like it's either the teeth pushing it out, or
I didn't think about that. It could have been, but I don't know. He had a strange look to him. Other than his physical build, just the way that he was looking at us, he didn't have a care in the world. He wasn't mad. He wasn't happy. He was just kind of like, if you see the people that are on the psychotropic medications, and they're kind of in a daze. That's sort of the look he had, like he was just in a daze, wandering around. And it could have been, I don't know. Surely with the intelligence of the Sasquatch, these other creatures, they've got to rely on some type of natural plants and herbs to treat themselves. And who knows, he could have eaten something for the pain or the infection. I don't know.
Gotta remember one thing: they don't have a mirror to look into.
Oh,
yeah, that's true.
So when you look at something, I've been injured, and I said I don't want to look at what happened.
Yeah,
they don't have he don't have a mirror to look into, so he wouldn't know how bad that was, and that can mentally bring you down.
Yeah.
It's a different way of thinking, is it? I mean, dogs will hurt the legs; they just carry on.
Yeah, a lot of animals.
We just stop, don't we? Because it hurts, and we think differently about pain, whereas animals just don't have that choice, do they? They have to keep going, and they just do. They don't think about it.
Yeah,
and
they
I
got
wonder.
that desire that only the strong survive, and if they're the weak one in their pod or their herd, they get banished. They get pushed out, and I'd hate to have an injury like that and have to tough it out. That would not be. I wouldn't be the tough one. That's for certain.
I wonder about the glowing eye, because I've had cats before that had eye infections, and I didn't notice it until I took a picture of them, because I took thousands of pictures of my cats. That was a cat photographer. No, I wasn't. But I took pictures of my own cat, and when I went to get him developed, I was like, oh, why is the one eye like it's shining in a weird way? And then finding out that it was some kind of infection. I wonder if it's maybe that glowing green was some kind of infection that carried over from the injury.
I don't know. That's a good point.
Triggered by the photo of your headlight.
When when I put the headlight on him, it wasn't glowing no more. When the headlight hit him.
Oh, really?
It was in the dark. It was glowing like it was emitting light. It was really bright. But where he was at, we had I don't know if the moon was full, but it was bright. But where we were parked at, them trees are between 60 and 70 feet tall, mature pine trees. And the moon, if I remember right, the moon was on the passenger side of the car. It was that direction, which would be east. And he was on the west side of the ditch, but those big pines, all of that was in shadow. It was so dark up underneath there. But the bay, we parked in there because the bay was so beautiful with that moon. It lit the water up. And I don't think it was the moonlight causing it. It could have been. But when I put the headlights on him, it was not glowing at all. It was white, but it had if you see like a lot of these painters, these construction people that do painting for a living, how the white part of their eye is yellow colored, sort of like the color of the paper Larry's drawn on.
It's almost
it wasn't bright white like most of us. It had that yellow look to it. I forget what they call that when your liver goes bad in your eyes.
Angina. Oh no, you're talking about cirrhosis.
It's no, it's
Come on, I gave two guesses. One of them's right?
Yeah, I thought it was
Jaundice. I said angina. I'm sorry, that's a hard thing.
Angina's the heart, isn't it?
I meant jaundice. Dang it.
I know what you meant.
Come on, chat. Can I get a no?
Pleasure.
Daniela wins again.
Yeah, but that's what it definitely looked like that. It wasn't clear white colored. It had a pretty substantial yellowing to it. But a lot of these Sasquatch that people are seeing, and when you can see the whites of the eyes, that they have a yellow look to them too.
That's interesting.
What about the nose?
That's just about dead on the money. I don't know what's. I think I could see a little bit more of the nostril opening. I think that's what's off on it. Yes, yeah, that's definitely it. Wow.
That looks good. That top lip.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Darren. Do you think it thought you were an easy meal because it could not hunt? if it couldn't hunt.
No,
Yes.
I don't think it had any intention of harming us at all. Because he could have got me when I was sitting on the hood of the car before I realized what it was. I thought it was an animal. He could have made 2 steps across that ditch and had me before I could have got down and got to my door. So I don't think he had any intention of hurting us. I just think he was moving through there and we happened to pull up there and block his path.
Yeah.
Donnie, I also wonder if with the injury, if the depth perception was a handicap to him.
It would have to be, you would think.
Because he was on your side, like he could watch you with that eye, but like if he turned to come at you, he wouldn't know how much. I mean, I'm just thinking how I would be if I closed one eye and try to do anything.
Yeah, it's hard. Years ago when I was shooting archery recurve bow, we trained left and right-handed, which is you have to first figure out if you're left eye or right eye dominant. And I'm right eye dominant, but since I was right eye dominant and I shot right-handed, then they wanted me to learn left eye dominance to shoot left-handed, and it's hard because they blindfold your right eye. It's literally blindfolded.
Dang.
And when you can't see out of it, it's so hard. 20 yards is an average shot with a bow, and it's so hard to estimate that distance with one eye. And you shoot it 100 times a day, every day, 5 years, and you close an eye and everything changes. I'm sure he had a hard time. I don't know. He's been eating something good to have the muscle mass that was on him. It would take a lot of calories to beat that. I'm sorry.
Were you attending a Legolas University? Lord of the Rings joke. Sorry. Jeez. They had to shoot 100. Yeah. Oh, really? You're in England. Come on.
Oh,
Tolkien?
of course. I should watch Harry Potter and drink tea while I'm watching it as well. Oh, Lord of the Rings. I don't. Yeah, sorry. Not your typical Brit, Mark. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I have a copy of Lord of the Rings on my lap while I watch Harry Potter.
Yeah, I always got it. You know, I can walk around with it, reading passages.
Yeah, I grew up in a family of archers. I've got 4 cousins on one side. My mother's sister, her children, all 4 of them have gotten several national and international titles in recurve and longbow archery.
Oh wow! That's
my youngest cousin, Lee, when he was 7 years old, he was the first 7-year-old to get an international title in longbow. But they're tremendous shooters. I'm nowhere near the caliber they are. I still shoot, but I shoot to feed my family. I hunt.
Oh, gotcha. That's
arrows
nice.
cost too much to be tearing them up, shooting targets all the time. So I shoot just enough to that I'm still hitting my target. And
fill the freezer.
Yeah.
Fill the old freezer.
We got 5 freezers I got to fill, and I haven't gotten one. I missed one Saturday opening day. I'm using a crossbow now. When I broke my neck, I can't draw a bow back anymore, and so I got a crossbow permit. And the crossbow, the scope I have, it goes from 20 yards to 100 yards, and it's in 10-yard increments.
Oh wow!
And I'm dialed in. I can hit a soda can at 70 yards with it consistently. It's an incredibly accurate crossbow. And this deer came in, and I got my rangefinder, and he was 62 yards from me. And so I got the crossbow up, and I counted the little crosshairs in it. And I made the mistake of starting with the top one instead of it being the 20-yard pin, which it is. I started it as 10. And I ended up shooting 72 yards instead of 62, so I went over his back. But I seen him again yesterday afternoon. I went out there and he come right by the stand again. He was almost 90 yards, so I didn't shoot at him.
Oh wow.
65 is my cutoff.
That's good. Shoot where you want. You don't want to wound something and have it run off and.
Right, and that's the whole purpose. I know I can hit him, but the arrow, it loses so much energy at that distance, and without the energy, all you're going to do is you're going to hurt him, and he's going to die 2 weeks later somewhere else, and he's going to suffer until then. And so,
he's not going to feed you, your family, or anybody else.
No, the buzzards, but it's going to be a very painful way out, and I just. I pray over the animals I shoot when I do harvest. When I lay hands on them, I pray on them, give thanks to the animal, thanks to the Creator, and
good on you, Donnie. That's real hunting. That's real hunting.
Well, you see so many people now that they're just looking to kill something and they don't care.
Yeah,
and
these executives shooting rhinos, and that's the stuff that makes people sick.
Yeah, and most of them animals, you see them big game animals like that, most of them are in a fenced-in area. They're not in the wild. They're in a fence. They're hunting from a booth, a closed-in box booth. They got a heater running. A lot of them smoke, and they're shooting these animals at 400 yards with these high-powered rifles. When they come in to eat, they put out corn for them or whatever feed that animal eats, and it's I don't agree with it at all.
No.
You've got to really respect animals, haven't you? For the sake.
You have to, and a lot of the people that we hunt with at times are Christian people, and it doesn't make sense to me, especially for someone who believes that God sent His Son. And we were created by one. If you believe in that and you believe in the Bible or parts of the Bible, then you'd know that our Creator sent one man, Noah, to build a 450-foot boat. And He didn't do it to save Noah and his family. He done it because He wanted His animals saved. They were that important to Him. And we got a responsibility, and it's not to kill everything we see. You got to take everything into consideration, and there's so many does right now where we hunt that have babies, and you really got to pay attention. And it's best just not to even shoot the does at all. But
how we look?
It looks good. Looks real good.
What about the ear, Don?
Oh yeah, the ears.
Oh yeah.
Shoot.
Sorry, Larry. Cling, cling.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. I always keep
Larry,
it quarter.
The ears did not have hair on them or fur on them.
Okay. Did the brow ridge?
I want to hear notes, Mark.
Just like you got the way the brow ridge looks right now, it was like that. It either had the velvet on it or it wasn't anything, but it did look like it had fur, but it was really short. But the ears did not. They definitely did not have any fur on them, and they were almost, if you look into people who smoke, you look at the ashtray where they mashed all the ashes up. That it's not black, but it's not gray. It's sort of a middle between black and gray. That's the color the ears were.
What you having, Teddy? You having hamburger?
Yeah, Teddy.
For his dinner now, so he's probably having burgers or steak or something like that.
Have a rare hamburger.
Oh, wait till we tweak this one.
Oh yeah.
Rare hamburger. Gee,
it's perfect for Halloween.
It's gonna be disturbing.
Well, just imagine seeing this. I mean, it's just so different, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'd be freaked out.
Yeah, the side profile is what really just messed it up. I mean, that's what you're seeing right there is what I saw, but seeing it from the side and the way the head was shaped is really. There's no way a human could wear makeup and be dressed that way, or be made to look that way. It's just not possible. Our head shape is wrong.
So looking at that, actually, the head is slanting, going backwards. It's slanting back towards the back of the head. Yeah, on an angle. So that's interesting.
It looked like if you were to take an oval and turn it at an angle, that's his head went from his brow ridge, but it went way back. And
like an egg, you said, right? An egg
like
tipped backwards.
Yeah. It was bizarre, and it was definitely too small for his body. He had a very heavy built body.
Would you say from neck-wise, from like his earlobes out, or from like? What do you think, Donnie? Oh, I'm sorry. If you're looking straight on and you looked at his neck, would you say it went from his earlobes out, or did it go from like a different angle?
His neck, it almost looked. It was either the exact width of his head, or it was a little bit wider. It wasn't narrow like ours is. The neck was really short. It was probably half the length of a normal human's neck. Had a very short neck, but it was.
So if his neck was as thick as his head and it went straight down, did it go below his chin before it went out to his shoulders? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Looking at him straight on, it was hard to see you could see the bottom of the neck. The top part of the chest really stuck out, like he had the collarbones were really pronounced. They stuck way out, and the chest came down from the collarbones. The bones themselves didn't stick out, but I mean it.
Donnie, the neck part, like if you were to say like his neck was as thick as his face,
it was the same.
Straight down on each side. Did that line of the neck go down below the chin before you would even think about drawing shoulders, or?
No, it was about where the chin is.
Oh, okay, and that's about where the chest started. The collarbones were about even with the chin.
Yes, a little. The collarbones were a little below that.
Okay.
But
gosh, that face is incredible.
The way the shoulders went out, the shoulders. It looked like a He-Man doll, one of the kids' dolls.
Yeah.
Like that muscle from the head to the shoulder. It was really short, and then the shoulder went up like looked like a football pad. It was much taller than that muscle coming off his neck. The shoulders were way just wrong. They didn't belong on him. They belonged on a much bigger creature than him.
Yeah.
I mean I couldn't imagine the strength that he would have, picking stuff up or whatever your shoulder muscles do. I couldn't imagine the amount of strength that he'd have.
Man, that's striking.
Is that him?
That's him.
Okay.
That is definitely him.
All right. Well, let's make him a little better here.
He's going to do his tweaking.
He's going to tweak it.
That's
creepy. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, to imagine the whole body, with the body as well. He's very interesting looking character.
It's strange to see it again. I can see it in my mind, but it's not the same as seeing it when it's put on paper like that.
How did you feel after your first drawing Bigfoot? The day after, or that night, or seeing it on paper?
I'm glad I did it. It's almost like it was a file, inside my head, and afterwards, it was like I finally took it out and I put it in the file cabinet where it goes instead of toting it. It's a weird feeling. I can't really explain it. You know, I told you in the beginning, the first drawing, you know, it was hard to I wanted to do it because of you and Carrie. I just have tremendous respect for you guys, and I wanted to do that, but I had second thoughts about doing it. I didn't want to bring it back up. It has been at the forefront. Anytime I go in the woods, Saturday was opening day for bow season. That was the first time since my encounter I went in the woods at dark. I've never, I wait till the sun starts coming up before I go in because of that encounter. And this is the first time since 2011 that I went in the woods to my stand at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it gets daylight at 6:45, 6:50. I was in my stand by 5, and I was scared. I ain't gonna lie and say I wasn't. I was definitely scared, but it just, I don't know. And I think it has to do with drawing, having Larry draw that first one. It did something, in a good way. It definitely helped. And I didn't see that. Danielle told me that it would, a lot of people it's helped them, but it's hard when somebody tells you that. It's hard to actually see it helping. You know, like I couldn't see it helping me. I know it helps people, but I couldn't see it. You know, it's hard. I was there and went through it with that thing, and it ruined me. And
everybody reacts differently, don't they, to things?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so thankful, and just you know, a word to your family here in the audience and the passerbys that are watching now. If y'all had an encounter and you're suffering with it, please get up with Danielle and see about doing this. It did help. It helped tremendously. I hunt every year. I took off several years after my encounter because of the encounter. But when I started hunting again, I wait till the sun comes up. I'll drive out there, but I won't leave my car until the sun starts coming up to when I don't need a flashlight, and then I go. And we just done that drawing, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Saturday was opening day, and I'm walking in the woods by myself with a bow or a crossbow, and it's 4:40, 4:35, 4:40 in the morning, and I haven't done that since I started back hunting after my encounter in 2011.
What do you think it was that what relieved that for you? Just kind of putting it out there, or confronting it?
It literally feels like I've been carrying it, physically carrying it, like I've had it in my pocket, or you know, I had it on me, and it's always been there. And going in the woods, I still go, and I go because when I finally started getting back in the woods by myself and getting away from the car, I got to the point I had enough. You know, I want my life back. They ruined me. That encounter.
Had you talked much to anybody about your encounters before you did with Daniela and Larry, or and Carrie?
I finally came out about 3 years ago, I think it was. Before that, I told a few people that are very close to me, and they didn't make a mockery of me, but you know when somebody doesn't believe.
Skeptical, they're skeptical, like
you go to church with somebody you've known your whole life, and they start laughing when you tell them and say, "Well, what were you smoking? What are you drinking? You need to eat more." And you know, and they start doing these jokes, and you get mad at them. It's like, you know, I'm not pulling your leg here.
Yeah.
You know, I experienced something, and you're the one person that I trust with my life, period. And you're laughing at me, and you know, I got to apologize too, but it's the point. The truth came out.
Yeah.
So as soon as I shared it, you know, the way they felt about it came out right away, and it shut me down for a while. But I talked. What got me to come out, I talked to Lynn Smith with Bigfoot Case Files. Wonderful woman, and she set me up with a good friend of hers, and she said, "I believe he could help you," and that was Wes Germer. And I talked to Wes, and because of Lynn and Wes, I said the heck with it, and I came out and I put it on YouTube.
Good for you, man.
I mean, I don't care. I know the truth. I know what I encountered. I've seen some crazy things before, and probably 70% of the population has, those that leave the confinements of the buildings and, you know, if you leave the city life, the people that have been in the outdoors, I would say 70% have seen something, and they're not wanting to share it due to career, possibly damage their career, the ridicule, which is I think is the main thing. But I just got to the point, I don't care. And it's through YouTube, I realized how easy it was. If this backfires on me, I just delete my channel. I'm done. I'm not an internet person anyway, and it hadn't hurt nothing. But the family I've gained on my YouTube channel, I mean, these are the greatest people in the world. And the support, I never, ever dreamed I would ever have support from another human being like I got from our YouTube channel. It's incredible. We've got the greatest people that walk this planet are part of our family over there. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here still doing this, what I do. And then, you know, I met Carrie and then Danielle, and I came here and they treated me like family. And it does so much more for you when you're around other people, believers that support you and not bash you, regardless of what craziness you've seen. They know that stuff's out there. You know, everybody's seen something, whether it be a glass move across your table when nobody's around it, or you know, the little things. But there's always an element of what initiated it. You know, there's an inertia, whether it's in the physical or the spiritual dimension. There's inertia that's causing all these things to happen, and it's just a matter of digging in and figuring out what it is. And it's changed my life for the better. And I wish everyone would come forward. There's what we tell them on Standing Goats Rescue is, you know, you don't have to share anything here on our channel, but there's so many other good channels out there. Share it, get it out. You know, do it anonymous, whatever it takes, get it out.
Or make a phone call. Make a phone call to somebody you trust. Share your truth, because your truth, nobody can discredit your truth, because it's something that you know and something you experience. And then if you're ready to share it here online in front of 4,000 people, that's a different story. But until then, find somebody you trust and share it with them first. That's the first step.
And it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street, Donnie. We can't create this space without people coming forward and sharing their encounters and showing people what we need to do, you know, what people need to do. As hard as it is, as difficult as it is, because once you start to say it and you're in that environment, like this environment where it just feels normal now to talk about things like this.
Yeah.
We're not trying to prove it to anyone or sell it to anyone. If nobody believes, go watch something else. You know, we're not about that. So,
but who's created a safer space than Daniela and Carrie here on Bigfoot Odyssey? And honestly, who's a safer person to describe your experience to than Larry Batson? You know, one of the legends of this whole thing. You know, somebody that's talked to thousands of people. You know, you couldn't pick a better place to come, Donnie. And I mean, obviously, you already have relationships with and know people, but I appreciate I feel a little bit of privilege getting to sit here and listen to you tell your story and share it in the same way I have with the other people I've gotten to sit into and watch my father draw that experience. And Daniela, with her just her presence, there's just you have a real quality, Daniela. You treat everybody with so much respect. It's good. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
We're nice because we drink a lot.
Well, we do.
Do we? Let me go and sort this image out.
Camera off. Do we?
I've shared with Carrie. I've shared everything, every encounter I've had that I remember. There's some little things I didn't share, but I've shared with him all of the more significant encounters, where I've only shared a couple of my other encounters with other channels, with Wes Skirmer and with Lynn Smith, but with Carrie, I've shared everything.
Wow.
There's something about him, you know. Carrie's, we're all brothers and sisters, but there's something about Carrie. You know, I mean, he just, you get a message, a text message from him, you know, he's not trying to sell you something. He's not, you know, when he's a friend, he's a friend. He's a true friend.
Yeah.
You know, and Carrie's been very true to me. He's been honest, and I just, I love him. He's a great man.
Yeah.
And it's been nothing but a good time. You know, I enjoyed coming over here, and he's helped me out and helped get my channel up and going, and it's been a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Wine gets better with age, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Everything's getting better but me.
Growling. It's my dog growling in the background.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Was she mad?
She's on one tonight. And she's just staring out into the back.
Uh-oh. Just staring into the closet?
A leaf is probably moving. It's raining and windy, so anything that moves.
I remember the Far Side. The Far Side comic where the cat say, I think the cat's saying to the dog, he's like, or the dog saying to the cat, he said, "You want to have some fun? Let's just go stare into the closet and growl."
It's, you know, this is sort of a story, but it's tied in with what you're saying there. You know, we had a lot of things happening in our home here, paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And the dogs, and you see on a lot of these shows, 3 o'clock in the morning is when things happen. No, that's false. It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But at night, when the dogs they sleep with us in the bed, we got 3 big dogs laying there. And Gracie is deaf. She was born without the bones in her ears. So we have to communicate with her through sign language and lights. But she'll wake up and just stare at our bedroom door. The door's closed, growling. And then the other 2 are up, and all 3 of them staring at the door, growling. And twice now, it's almost as though somebody's walking by the end of the bed, because you can, all 3 of them are looking toward the door, and they're kind of growling. But there's nothing there. There's no sound. There's nothing there.
They're sensing something, aren't they? They're sensing something, definitely.
Well, you know, when it, I think I shared with Carrie about the heads, the 2 deer heads that I found up by our property.
Mm-hmm.
We have activity up there. We had some really weird things happen at that property. There were 2 deer heads, bucks, big, pretty racks on them, nice deer. The heads were where they weren't cut, they were torn off from the neck, right at the base of the skull. But where it was severed, they had the 2 heads, like they put the severed part where the heads. If you had a compass as an example, one head is facing northeast, and the other one would be facing southeast. But they were facing the property. They were right on our property line, and that's the area where we've had the majority of the activity. Well, I brought them home. I found them.
Uh-oh.
And big, I mean, beautiful. The type deer most hunters will mount. And I brought them home. I wanted to put them in the ant pile because it looked like they just got removed from the animal. The eyes were still glassy, were still wet and glassy.
Oh no.
The flesh was still wet, and you could put your thumb where the neck was torn off, rub your
and
thumb
you're sure
on
it wasn't natural causes, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it gets strange.
Yeah.
I brought them home, and I put them in an ant bed, and I tied them down with a piece of steel cable, thin fishing cable, so the coyotes wouldn't drag it off, or the buzzards, and it sat there. I think a week and a half, and I went back out there. The eyes are still glassy, still have a shine to them, like they're wet. The flesh is still leaves blood on you. Not one, nothing is touched on it. The ants are gone. The bed I put them in is gone. So I do composting, and we make our own soil. I love growing stuff. Well, I got a big cast iron bathtub, and it's full of compost that I made. It's got a bunch of earthworms in it. It's one of the real deep, I don't know, 16-inch bathtubs. I buried the 2 heads in the bathtub, and they were in there for a while. And I pulled them out to clean them. My intentions were to get all the tissue and flesh off the heads, bleach them out, get them nice and bacteria free, and then set them out, hang them on the wire, and let the sun finish curing them. And then our daughter will paint them, and then I'll shellac them up, just something different, because I find turtle shells a lot, and we bring them home for her, and I was going to do those heads that way. When I pulled them out of the dirt, shook the dirt off of them, it looked like they were just removed from the deer within the hour. Not a beetle on them, nothing would touch them. But the day I brought them home, stuff started happening inside our home, paranormal stuff. And I never put it together until Pappy Two Bears had mentioned to me, said, "Do you think the paranormal started when you brought them heads home?" And I never put it together. And I said, it did. It started the same week. I know that for sure. And so I took them. A lot of our YouTube family said, get them out of there, get rid of them, because they should have decomposed. The eyes should have dried up, and they weren't. And I showed, I believe, I'm almost positive I showed them on a video. I did a live stream with my phone, and I showed it on there. Well, I took them out in the woods, not up to the property. I didn't want them near our property. We got enough weird stuff up there. So I took them in another area, several miles away. And there's a culvert. It's all woods. There's a huge swamp on both sides of the road, but the one on the north side drains under the road, pretty heavy at times. And I walked down that ditch into the swamp as far as I could go without going over my boots and muck. And I tossed the heads in that rapid flowing water. Well, I went back, I guess it's been a year. I went back, and all of it's dried up now, dry season. I never found them. The heads are gone, or they got carried off, but it's
no more issues. No more issues at the house, or
we still having issues, but it's not bad. It's not like it was. It toned way down when I took them heads out of here. But whatever, I don't know if there was a ritual done with them. I don't know. But whatever it was attached to them heads, it changed the chemical makeup of them. They wouldn't decompose. They wouldn't rot. I mean, the flesh at the base of the head, there was no neck on it at all. It was removed from the at the base of the head. Right. That flesh looked like that deer was just killed within a few hours. And this was weeks of sitting outside in the dirt, and it was still soft, and it wasn't rotted. It had a smell to them. They had a sort of a petroleum smell. It had a weird chemical smell to them. But where they were at, our property is surrounded by just a lot of woods. And that property where they were at is 2 80-acre parcels. And it's actually owned by the man who owns the veterinary clinic that treats our goats. He owns those 2 properties. We're trying to get one from him, but there's too much strange stuff that happens there. We're not going to get it. We're going to get rid of the piece we got, actually. He doesn't allow hunting.
Yikes.
Right.
The reason I brought him home, it puzzled me. Who would kill a nice buck with a nice rack on him and throw the heads, trash the heads?
2 of them. Yeah, those are 2 season champs.
How did they get the head off? There was no knife marks. It was there were no cut marks at all in it, and it looked like it was ripped. The tissue was ripped, and I don't know. They could have tied it to a truck, I guess, and pulled it off. But I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. But that when
strangeness,
all that
isn't it?
started, that's when the dogs started growling and stuff that wasn't there. And we got one room in the house that I got a metal detector in it, and it would go off in the middle of the night, between midnight and 3, 4 o'clock. It would go off. So I removed the battery from it. Brand new metal detector. And it is a name brand.
Wait, metal detector? Fire detector?
No, a metal detector for detecting metals, like searching for gold and silver.
Oh, I got you. Oh, yeah. I got you. Sorry, I just had a fire detector go out. Battery started doing that stuff. So sorry.
This was it was a bounty hunter, but it was their higher end. It was $300 and something. I don't remember the exact amount. It was a pretty good bit of money.
Yeah.
Used it only a couple of times. It had a brand new battery in it. Well, it started going off and wake us up, and it is so loud. And we had it in that room. Yeah. Well, it would go off, and I'd get to the door, turn the doorknob, and it would still be going off. And you crack the door open, and soon as you pushed it enough open that you could see into the room, it would stop. So I removed the battery. It uses a Duracell 9 volts. I took the battery out. A few days later, it went off again.
With no battery?
With no battery. And if you look on my channel, Standing Goats Rescue, I think I titled it Paranormal Events in My Home Again.
Mm-hmm.
But it went off during the daytime. I was sitting in the living room. And so I started filming with my phone. And I walked to the door, and you can hear it. It's so loud. And as soon as I unlocked it, I turned the doorknob. It's still going off. But as soon as I opened the door, it stopped. And I went in and I showed him there's no battery in it. The battery's gone. How is it doing this?
And that is creepy. That is creepy. But look, let us get back to tonight's drawing, because I've got it right here. Oh, there we go.
God dang, what the heck?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be sick.
Wow.
Is that looking like it?
It was a lot. The red coloring in the wound was a lot of red. It was all red, but some of it was real bright, like it was fresh blood on it. Just spots.
Yeah.
I'd say 80% of it was like a dried scab look, and then maybe 20% of it had spots that looked real bright. But the red was very, very evident. It was extremely bright on his face. It stood out.
Jeez, that creeps me out.
That is creepy, isn't it? Gene asked before for me to put the two together. These are both of the things that you've seen.
Oh wow, that was his?
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Seeing it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But if you look at the two, you can see there's no comparison.
No.
That one with the eye damage, I truly believe that it is not a Sasquatch. I don't know what it was, but I don't think it was one of them big guys. I have no idea.
It's hard to tell, isn't it? I mean,
well, right
so
there,
different descriptions of these things that I just don't know anymore. They go from one extreme to the other.
Absolutely. You see how he did the nose?
Yeah.
Where it looks like a hood over it. That's the way. I mean, that's right there is what I seen. That's what I was looking at, and it just
So we did it.
I'm sorry.
So we did it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's all we needed to know.
That eye meat. That eye meat's making me sick to my stomach.
I'm gonna go have some sandwich right now.
I feel like a bacon butty now, actually.
Sure made sloppy Joe.
Cheese. I'll put some cottage cheese in the sandwich. That's what I enjoy the most.
What a
room temperature.
guys, we've gone really. It's almost like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Not
it's been
here.
a great night. It's been great. Thanks, Donnie, for coming on for this Halloween special. You've definitely brought, something very creepy to the table tonight.
That's bizarre. Could I ask Larry something right quick before we?
Sure.
Larry, were you gonna do the neck and shoulders on it?
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
You might tweak
it. I was just throwing it out. If you do, like you did on the last one, it was so different on that one. If you decide to, the neck was. I mean, it comes straight down like from the ears, but really short. But when it went out toward the shoulders were really bunched up over it. But the neck was the same width as his head, but it was about half the height of, if you would have a human neck. If you were to cut our neck in two, like half the height, he had a really short neck. But just a bizarre creature. I didn't know if you were going to do that or not. That's the reason I said it.
I'll try. I'll fight away the nausea.
He's been known to tweak.
He does. He tweaks. A couple of days he's playing around with them.
So I appreciate it, Larry. That's you absolutely nailed it. That's what I've seen, and that's on Panama City Beach.
Thank you, Larry.
Makes you want to go there on vacation.
Yeah, I think we all need to want to check it out, don't we? It looks intriguing place.
I'll stay out here with the goats.
There's an eye down there. All right. Well, look, thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Sorry if I missed any of your questions or your messages. We do have a lot going on, so I can't keep on top of everything, but I do appreciate you all commenting and all the likes that you've given. We've got 300 in, maybe 300 likes would be nice if you don't mind just clicking that before you go tonight, and leave a comment. Let us know what you think of the show. And there's a link to Larry's PayPal in the description if you want to help out. If you want to buy a print of that image, get in touch with Larry. He's just doing it for a few dollars. You don't know.
Sponsored by Burger King.
Exactly. If you put it in your kitchen, frame it, and you'd be inspired to cook all the time. I don't know. So again, Donnie, Mark, Larry, thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. It's going to be a Balloon Line Wednesday, which hasn't been around for a while, but it's going to be a Halloween special. So until then, everyone, take care. Good night.